everybody.
Any intel about birds? Give me some tips.
Get one
Look
of
at
those
mum.
little cat flash. My mum and dad have got one. It looks like a light. You put them in the ground and it just emits a tone. Humans can't hear it, and cats don't like it.
Okay, so not barbed wire on the top of the gate. Then I
E
feel a bit bad doing that. Used to have
Probably
cats
not.
growing up.
pigeon stuff maybe, but
Karen's nodding. Karen, I feel like you know about birds. Don't hold back.
No. I
Do you
don't.
like birds?
I do like birds. Um, yeah, I do like birds. Probably not so much cats.
Hi, Kate. Hi,
Uh,
Sarah. Chip in. We're talking about birds. What's your favorite bird? What's the best bird you've ever seen in your garden? Or if you don't like birds, why not?
I like birds. I'm not a bird spotter or anything though,
no.
but Colin at work, he'll give me the lowdown on every bird that comes past the main front door at Bible Society. He's a bird freak, so he is, bless him, but I suppose I love to see a robin, so I do. There's just something about seeing the robin redbreast, isn't there?
Yeah.
Um, But I don't have many in the garden because I have cats come to the garden. However, how do you get rid of cat poo in the garden? Get a dog.
You just keep upgrading. You just keep going bigger and bigger.
Since we've had the dog, we do not have any cat poo in the garden. It's
Oh,
yes, praise
Nice.
God. So it is. It's
bless her.
amazing because it's
Yeah.
meant we can't even. It's the smell's so bad. But yeah, so go down the
Very
dog.
good. Yeah, so we're talking about birds and why I've got not enough birds on my bird table, even though I've stocked it like really, really conscientiously. I've got these two cats that keep visiting the garden. So we're talking about pets. Do you like birds? That was the main theme, but you can bring in other animals as well. Any thoughts?
I'll tell you one thing
Jan?
I do have.
Yes, Karen.
I've got a fox that keeps walking across our fence at your back, and you
Ah,
see him even in the daytime. He walks along, back again. Yeah.
That's very that's sort of strutting along the fence.
Mm, he does.
Oh. Anything else on animals, domestic or wild? What's going on in your gardens? Hannah, anything or nothing?
So a bit like Sarah, we have a giant dog, so that scares all animals out of the garden. We again used to have cats, no more. Few near misses, thank the Lord he missed. Um, with the cat flying and then very quickly the dog after. And again, the birds, he's caught a couple, so we no longer entice the birds in with feed. So it's the dog garden. But in the house, we have a bearded dragon called passion fruit. So she's a proper little sweetie, and my little pet dragon. So yes, it's
Amazing.
wow.
I didn't know that. That is so interesting. Who else wants to chip in on this pet chat? We've got another couple of minutes of chat. One more minute. Leanne, anything burning to say?
Sorry, couldn't find my unmute. Nothing massively burning. I have pet rats, which I feel like people are either love or are horrified by. So
It's just the tail, Leanne. It's just the tail.
that's the problem. Yeah, my mum we lost one of them a few weeks ago, and my mum basically was like, "I'm not going to visit you until you can find it and put it back in the cage," because she absolutely hates them. But we did find it, so it's okay. They're all safely caged.
Oh, this is so interesting. So lots of dogs. We've got a lizard. We've got rats. Larissa, anything on the pets? I know you've got kids. Maybe that's enough.
Yeah, I don't know. We have no pets. My our youngest is desperate for a dog, but I'm just like, no, I don't want one.
It
So,
would be you.
okay,
It would be you walking it. It would, let's face it, it would be.
well, exactly. I did say I was like, I've got two kids. That's enough. I don't need any other extra
Yeah.
responsibility.
Yes, Larissa, I'm with you holding off on getting the dog. That red energy has been put to good use there with that ability to make that decision. Carl, hello, hello. Kate, we're talking about
Hello.
pets. We're about to start any minute, but you've got a few seconds. If anyone wants to say anything about their pet or their love of wild things, Rich has still been quiet. I'm really interested in what animals he's into, if any.
We have a dog. So yeah,
Oh, oh,
yeah,
what
yeah.
kind?
A cocker spaniel called Peanut. He might appear at some point. You might see him coming through around
Okay.
there.
Amazing. Okay. Permission to bring your pet on screen today. Right. Kate Carr, if you want to chip in a bit later, then please do. I mean, I wonder about our pets' personalities. Look at my link here. What are they like? Some pets are fierce, some pets are timid, etc. And what we wouldn't want to do is to have a pet and be constantly thinking who they might be. You know, maybe we had a pet at some point in our life and we absolutely loved that pet, and we just wish that our current pet was just like that one. That would be sad for the pet, wouldn't it? Comparison, therefore, is the thief of joy. We don't want to be comparing personality because the personality that we have is a gift from God and we are wired that way for a reason. I really like that phrase, is the thief of joy. It's attributed to Theodore Roosevelt. And why did he say it? It's because if you're constantly thinking about what you're not, about comparing yourself to others, which you're never going to live up to, then it's very, very hard to be joyful and grateful for what you have. Do not compare yourself to others, says 2 Corinthians 10, verse 12. So that's putting it really, really directly. Just don't do it. Don't compare yourself to others. But how do we actually stop doing it? It's so easy to do, isn't it? Well, the 5 voices helps us to do that. And I'm actually going to toggle now to my special insights deck so that the colors don't confuse anybody. So here we are on the nurturer voice. I'm going to give you a quick summary of the voices using the colors that you're familiar with. And for each one, the emphasis today is on the insights around that voice. What can I learn today from being that voice? So I want you to be thinking either about yourself, it could be your first voice, but if you've done this many times, you might still need to think about something there particularly, or you might want to look at your second voice as a lens as well. So just bear in mind which voice you're concentrating on. It could be for you, but it could also be for a team member today. Who's that team member with a different voice to you, and how can you help to liberate them? So you could be watching through that lens as well. So there's something for everybody, no matter how much of the voices you've done in the past. Okay, we're deep diving, first of all, into the nurturer. Nurturers, champion of people, relational harmony, and values. You are practical. You are thoughtful. You give your full focus to the person in front of you. You are always looking for opportunities in places to make sure that the way is smoothed so that people can bring their best. It's something that other voices don't always think about. But you're so good at thinking, how will that person in front of me feel about whatever we're doing right now? You are just giving people worth, making people feel valued, making people feel heard all the time. But you're also often very good on the detail because you are the S in the Myers-Briggs, you're sensory, you're a sensor. So you're conscious of what smells are, what sounds are, what sights are around you, and how they might affect others. So anything quite even a small change, you will be always calculating how is that going to affect everybody in my team. So people are generally blessed to have a nurturer leader because they will feel seen by that person. Here are the insights for that person. Please take a screenshot if this is the voice you're focusing on today and choose one of these to focus on. I'm just going to pick one at random, and I'm going to pick number 5. Embrace change and help lead it. Don't be passive and function as a victim of it. Too often, nurturers can stay quiet when change is taking place, or they can just think, I'm just going to bury my head in the sand because I don't like this. Or they can think, this is not good, this is not going to affect us very well, but they don't want to speak up. Why? Because they don't like to rock the boat. But actually, if you can speak up and help to shape the change, it will be safer, it will be happier. So please do that as well. People would much rather hear the truth from somebody kind and nurturing than from someone who's brash and not aware of how they're coming across. So nurturers, we need you to be involved in change. That's the nurturer. Okay, next is the creative voice. And the creative voice is the future voice. You can see the telescope here. They're always seeing the opportunities and dangers long before anyone else. They are innovating, building inside all the time, and they are very conscious of whether we are living up to the values we say we believe in as well. The difficulty for the creative is feeling heard. And that's because their communication isn't their top skill. Their top skill is their ideation, but their communication isn't quite so clear. So clarity is the big thing the creative needs to think about. And if it's your second voice, as well as if it's your first voice, that might well occasionally be the problem for you, even if your first voice is a very good communicator one. So here's an important thing for the creative to be aware of. I'm just going to pick one out at random. You don't have to pick the same one as me. Number 4, it's okay to be wrong sometimes. It comes with the territory of creativity and imagination. Really difficult dichotomy for the creative is I'm coming up with ideas all the time. That's my skill. And I'm a perfectionist. So guess what? They don't want to say what they are thinking or their idea unless they are sure it's going to be fine and it's going to be heard and it's at that perfect level. And that can be a real problem because people can view the creative as either not doing very much or as holding their cards close to their chest. So the creative is always an introvert, the first voice creative. They need to share, they need to spread out and start to trust the team and lead into the body that they belong to rather than comparing themselves to others that are always getting things right. What about the third voice, the guardian we've got today, the blue on the insights, due diligence, resources, efficient systems and processes. They dot the I's, they cross the T's. They are brilliant at systems detail. So they are with the nurturer in the present, always thinking about now and today, but they will get the checklist ticked off very quickly. It's business. They are conscientious. They find it hard to play until the work is all finished. So what might the guardian need to focus on? We say this a lot. They need to be careful. Number 5, constantly driving yourself and your team will eventually lead to burnout and resentment. Be careful how you are coming across with your team. And where does that start? That starts inside. You're a human being, not a human doing. If guardian is in your top 2 or even your top 3 voices, you might find it very hard to love yourself and to take a break if the work isn't finished. And the problem is, if you're a team leader, that's going to affect the team as well. But remember, that comes from a great place. Your drive to get work done and to be thorough will make sure that your team deliver. And that's always a brilliant thing in organizations. So well done. How about the connector voice? Connectors are the champions of relational networks, internal collaboration. They just know that there's no point winning if we don't win together, which I think is a wonderful thing. And also effective communication. They use story, they use persuasion to try to rally everybody to their cause. So they are brilliant at making sure that everything's joined up in the team. If you haven't got a connector in your team, there might be factions. It might be a bit more siloed. The connector always wants to get everyone together. And if they're a first voice connector, they're an extrovert, they will want to have lots of team socials. And it's important to them, even if it's not important to you. So they might be a good person to delegate the social to if it's not your bag. And that's fine. Not everyone has everything to do. Now, how can the connector be intentional? Well, they can sometimes undermine their influence by nipping about from one thing to another. But number 6, they can sometimes be inconsistent in their external communication. So they can sometimes think about an idea and immediately announce it as though it's happening, and then people get very confused. So they can sell to individuals ahead of the meeting, try to sort of tell them what's going on, leaking stuff, when actually they need to wait until they've got buy-in to announce that something is happening, because that can lose them some influence. So being disciplined in who they tell, when they tell it, and what they say is really important for a connector. But again, take your photo if you want to, and you choose the one that you want to be thinking about today, if that's you. And then we go back to the pioneer, the 5th of the 5 voices. It's the red in the insights, and they are the champion of strategy. They always think about how things can be delivered, getting things across the line, moving things forward to achieve the vision, solving problems as you go. If you've got a pioneer friend or a pioneer colleague, that's a great way to pose them helping you. Is, can you help me solve a problem? Don't ask the pioneer to nurture you. Don't ask them for a chat. Ask them to help you solve a problem, and they will be in. They'll do that for free, and they'll do that for fun. So what insights should the pioneer be aware of? Here's one, number 6. Find a nurturer and ask them to mentor you in how they see the world. Because what can happen is pioneers can overlook the opinions of those who they find it hard to hear, quieter voices, or those who they don't necessarily think are competent in the visionary spaces that the pioneer can prioritize. So stay close, be intentional, stay close to a nurturer voice because they represent 43% of the population and you as a pioneer only represent 7. So there is a reason why Claire and I partner up on this call. Claire's a nurturer and I'm a pioneer. And it's really important for me to hear, and I hope I do that enough, Claire, to hear what she feels and thinks because it's highly valuable. And hopefully then you get a much better breadth of coaching across the 2 spectrums. Here's Matt to tell us where we put the people in the team. I wonder if this will spark you any thoughts as in your team leading roles. Who have you got on your team and where might you put them? Now, anyone can be in the house and anyone can be outside of the house looking at vision and where we're heading forward, but these are the most comfortable spots for those first voices. If you have a second voice that's in a different place, you'll find yourself moving between them. So it's a generalization, but it's generally quite accurate. Guardians and nurturers, with all that detail they have, they are brilliant at moving something forward with incremental steps. Connectors then are buzzing from the outside, thinking about vision, grabbing ideas from different spaces and bringing them back. Especially they need to be able to hear this creative voice. And when the creative and the connectors get together, then the connector is able to translate what the creative is saying because creative is high for a connector first voice. And then the pioneer helps to set out the clear strategic steps to move us from reality to vision. So that is a bit of a whistle-stop tour of the voices. Hopefully there was something there, as there was in the preparation when you did the altitude sessions before this, that has just resonated with you afresh or for the first time. Whenever I do this, there's something I need to remember. One of those insights maybe that's just dropped off my radar that I want to bring front and center. So that's what we're looking for today, is what small pattern change do we need to make today? Any questions on the task? We're thinking about one voice, either ours or a team member's, and one insight in particular in our breakouts. Claire, we're looking at you. Anything to say? Are you ready with the breakouts? Do you need any information?
Yeah, no, I'm good. I checked with Sarah. Hopefully nobody is in the same room.
Great. Right. Well, I'll see you all the other side of the breakout. Looking forward to hearing what you have to share. And personality of pets can also be a topic as well. Don't know what I'd say about our rabbits.
Oh, cute.
Hello. Sarah, let's kick off with you as you're straight in. Tell us, do you have a nice chat with
Okay,
Will?
so I will, and I stuck with the green, which I'm comfy with, and I felt this is something I'm learning as a new manager, okay? Because of the culture I've been in previously, I felt that I was to blame for everything. So when people challenge your views and opinions, they're trying to help. It's not a personal attack. And I've really tried to sort of understand that someone's not having a go at me now, whereas previously it was different. And even when the boys say something, used to say things to me, it's like, oh, all right, okay, 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 okay. And I said to Will, I often say sorry for things that I don't need to say sorry for because I feel that attack is like just at me. And it's something I'm working on as a new manager, not to be like that. And it's better than what it was. Um, but yeah, it's yeah.
That's really good. So you got clear on the fact that saying sorry too often has been caused by a previous experience, and that's something to be intentional about going forward. Brilliant, Sarah. That's so good. Okay, we'll come to next steps shortly, but first let's just keep hearing from people. Let's go next to Karen.
I would say, again, as a new, we've had a manager that's been in the department for over 30 odd years, who's retired, and I've come in as like a team leader. And obviously, we're sort of going through a stage of embracing change, looking at our process and how things are done. and it's sort of liberating the team as well to sort of go sort of be with that change and just sort of accept it, how it can benefit us.
So that's a relevant insight for you then, Karen, is it? Is be part of change and help shape it? Is that the one you've
Yes,
chosen from what you're
yes,
saying?
it is. Yeah.
Great, good. So be thinking then of is there something specific? Is there a specific project that you're thinking of in particular, or a particular person you
There,
could?
yeah, there is. I mean, we've got like a new scanning process coming up.
Mhm.
And again, I've sort of been looking at the scanning process, what we've got in place already, what we need going forward, having a meeting with the team, which we done sort of last week actually, and sort of saying what things we need. Um, and the next step is actually sort of to go to your team and sort of say advise how it's going to benefit us going forward.
Great.
And it is going to be it could be a big change.
And how does it make you feel that the change is coming, Karen, with a nurturer first voice?
Um, I just need to go make sure the team's on board and sort of go sort of
You want it to happen, but you want it to be done
exactly,
well and properly. Great.
exactly.
Great motivation. So focusing on the benefits is one thing I've heard you say there that can
Yeah.
be helpful. Great. So you've got that to work on. Kate, you're next.
Yeah, so I also focused on nurture for myself. So the one that jumped out to me was, I believe, the same one as Sarah, but when people challenge your views and opinions, they're trying to help. It's not a personal attack. So yeah, I was just reflecting. I think this one I certainly am sort of working on more. But yeah, I've sort of shown with Larissa of like, I think often for nurturers, it's like such a big hurdle to like actually say like feel that you have the confidence to like challenge something or like question something. And so then like when you do that, like sometimes I'm like, oh, like wow, I've been brave enough to actually say what I'm thinking. And then you can have a second hurdle which you like almost sort of naively not expecting of like you might get pushed back on that. So I think, yeah, certainly in the past, I've like really taken that to heart, and then like I said, it's something I'm sort of aware of and working on because I think it's like sometimes if then you feel like oh you've tried really hard to sort of voice like for your voice to be heard, and then if it's pushed back on you could quite easily slip into the like mentality of oh well I shouldn't have bothered or like oh
Very
well
good.
I'm not valued and all that.
Yes, very good.
um
So speaking out despite the pushback that might ensue. Claire, anything to say on that as a fellow nurturer?
Yeah, I think it when you feel confident to do that, do it. But yeah, that was always an issue for me. So I'm not sure anything I can bring on that, but
Well, I think something you said yesterday, Claire, that I thought was really helpful was you said the pushback doesn't mean you were wrong.
yeah, so we were talking about intuition, weren't we? Um, and if you notice someone, I don't know, might make a facial expression, um, and I think sometimes when it comes to things like that, you can, as Laura said, automatically think you've done something wrong, but actually, just because someone has had that reaction, it doesn't mean that what you've said is wrong.
Really good, really
Yeah.
good. So it's applying that filter of, oh, I've said something wrong. Oh no, I haven't. That's a tendency of mine to think I have when someone does that. I'm not going to sit with that view. It's almost like there's that brilliant proverb where it says, let the bird fly over your head, but don't let it nest in your hair. Let the thought that you got it wrong come. It's going to come, but just let it fly by. Oh yeah, okay, that thought's going by. It's always going to happen. I'm always going to assume that I've got it wrong because someone has disagreed. But that's not the case, is it? That's just because I'm a nurturer and I'm putting other people's opinions higher than my own. Okay, so it's holding that space. Rich.
Um, Leanne and I focused on a slightly different angle. It's quite hard to get stuff done in Bible Society without directors and executive massive amounts of involvement, surprising amounts sometimes.
Mm.
And therefore, understanding their voices to try and predict how are they going to make things harder what are the curveballs, the challenges, the barriers, the hurdles that they're going to put in. Um, so the more you can understand their voices, the easier it is in Bible Society to get stuff done because you need to get them on board to get stuff done. So
So good.
that's the constant reflection.
So good. I love it. Yeah. And the more we do this little five voices deep dive over the next few weeks, when we get to liberation statements, that's like a cheat sheet for literally how to make that boss of yours say yes to what you want them to say yes to, make their hearts sing, what words to use. It can be really helpful. And I've got no problem with you doing that if we're doing it for good. Get that good thing through. Okay, amazing. Alex, I'm going to come to you next because your voice is the only one on here that's a mystery to me. I don't know which voice you are. So which did you identify with the most so far?
Sorry, have I not completed that bit so you know what my voice is?
I might have missed it.
Oh, ooh. Yeah, so I probably skew kind of nurture connector.
Uh-huh.
There we go.
Cool, thank you. So what did you choose?
So yeah, so I focused on kind of the nurturer side of things, but also I think we had a very nice discussion about do your voices actually change over time? And I'm sure there's loads of therapy as to why they change over time, but because I feel very nurtury, connectory, it's interesting. If I look back, I used to be more kind of pioneery, creativey, far more inclined to just speak out, go for it, not be afraid. And weirdly, over time, that's diminished. And so I find that more supportive voice to be kind of more natural now, whereas it used to be the least natural voice. So unpacking the strengths of that and the weaknesses of that is really interesting.
Interesting, Alex. I mean, there's a whole load of different things we could say about that. What we're trying to do is get to nature and strip off the kind of nurturing environmental factors that have contributed to the way your personality works. I would guess that that's probably the real you, who you are now, if it feels more comfortable. It's probably the real you. And there is an expectation among men to be assertive, to be pioneering or guardian, because 70% of men are the T, the thinker preference in Myers-Briggs, and 70% of women are the feeler, the relational preference in Myers-Briggs. So often that's how you're expected to show up, and you will add that in as you're growing up, as people treat you in that way. So that's what we're trying to do with the voices and with insights is peel off those extra layers we put on ourselves of expectation and get to the real you. So it rarely changes once it's fixed by early 20s. It will rarely, if ever, change. It would have to be sort of medical or traumatic related reasons for it to change. So yeah, an interesting one to come back to for sure.
Can I just add in
Yeah.
on that? Like,
Yeah.
the other thing that it's really important to remember is that we are all five voices. And so there will be particular areas, depending on the things that are important to you, so for me, my highest priority at the moment is my children. So although I'm a nurturer, when it comes to the children, I am a pioneer because I am everything, and I can see that. But other areas where I don't feel as strong, then I'm not pioneer. But all of the voices, and I would say that will probably apply to specific things within a job role as well. There will be things that you can kind of take on and carry out, and other things that possibly you couldn't.
Yeah, super helpful, Claire. Thank you for that reminder. And that's always worth saying, is we're all five. Will.
Yeah, so I'm a guardian, and yeah, sort of driven by achieving things, right? Task orientated. So I think for me, um, just the importance of relationships, building relationships, and yeah, that particular piece. And I took a screenshot. Number six, take time to invest in key relationships. You're not defined by task achievement alone. So yeah, it's just that reminder really that showing that you care more. It's not just about the results at the end of the day. It's also about bringing the team with you, not just leading the way and charging ahead. So yeah, just another reminder for me there.
So good. Thank you, Will. That's really helpful. Let's hear now from Carl.
When I did the insights about 4 years ago, I was a mixture between a yellow and a green. Do you have my voice down your end, Laura, at all?
All
Or
I
do I
have
need
for
to do the
you,
assessment?
I just have connector
Right.
with a question mark because I think it
Oh,
is either connector or nurturer.
yeah.
Which one it's about whether you're the N, which is the big picture, you like to see the vision first and then work back to the details, or whether you like the detail, the people detail, and if that people detail is in place, then you're okay with vision.
Um, yeah, I think I like to understand the whole picture, and then the detail to do it. I often have to try and figure things out, as you kind of go. But yeah, I definitely like a lot of detail.
You do. Well, I
Mm.
mean, keep going with what you're doing and you'll see. Which insight did you pick, Carl?
Um, to be honest, I think it just depends on what I'm doing at the time in terms of like kind of what I adopt more. Um, I think I'll probably do the five voices assessment you could do it on a giant portal, right?
Sorry, the word insight's a bit misleading, isn't it? Because that's what you're used to using
Mm.
personality. I just meant which of those being intentional, those statements about intentionality. Did you manage to pick one yet?
No, no.
Okay, that's all right. Well, you can have a little look again in a minute as we look at the core process, because
Mm.
what I want you to do is capture one thing that you want to be more intentional about going forward, or one area where you think, I could go from good to great in that area, or I could really improve in that area. And if you haven't contributed yet, you will contribute in the next section. So what I'm going to do now is drop into core process. And for core process, we always link that with know yourself to lead yourself. And here's a worked example. So somebody might have recognized that they have a tendency to get defensive when someone challenges their work. Why? Because it feels personal and makes them think that others see them as weak. What does that lead to? Well, the action that occurs there is that when I share something and receive critique by someone that I am not sure is for me, and that's when that tendency kicks in and it leads to me raising my voice and becoming passionate. I pull back a bit and then ask a sarcastic question as if I am trying to clarify, but it's really me trying to deflect. I love the honesty of this person following this process through here. What consequence does that have? Well, I cause people to walk on eggshells as it throws them off a bit. They then stop sharing any information with me that could help. And the reality is, people don't tell me the truth. I historically gathered people around me that would tell me what I want to hear, but wouldn't confront me. What does that mean? That means that this person doesn't have the full picture. It means that this person has a team that don't get to bring their best because they've created an environment where there's a defensiveness to any sort of feedback or critique. So that's an example of how a person who recognizes that they can get defensive can move from good to great. And what we can do then is we can drop into the core process and we can see how it follows through. So what have they called? They've called that they're not getting the best from their team or hearing the truth. And then they own it. And when we own it, we ask, what am I doing or not doing that is contributing to this situation? So an example we just had there, that person has said, I am defensive when someone tells me the truth and I ask a sarcastic question. So they got really specific about it there. What's the response then? Well, the response would be, I am going to change this. I'm going to put in a small pattern change. I'm going to cut out the sarcasm. But how? So often what we do is we just get to response and it's too general. How can we actually execute on this? Pause. Before I respond, and remember the bird flies over your head, don't let it nest in your hair. I can recognize my tendency will always be to feel defensive when someone tells me the truth. This person can reason. Therefore, I'm going to let that bird fly over my head. I'm going to pause. Okay, pause. I'm going to literally put my thumbs into my hands and I'm going to count to 10, let out a breath, and then I'm going to respond with a non-sarcastic question. So the execution would be pause. Have we actually nailed it yet? I think that person's going to need some accountability. Let's make that execution really shored up. They need to tell a friend, a buddy, a mentor, a close person to them and say, can you keep me accountable, please, on not being sarcastic? So this is where your buddy system that we talked about at the beginning comes in. Is there somebody on this call, or is there somebody at home or at work that you can actually have a coffee with in the next couple of weeks and tell them, I am going to commit to that. Can you please ask me next time we meet whether I'm doing it or not? And once you've got accountability, you know it's much more likely it's going to happen. So what else could we use the core process for? If Sarah, you don't mind, you said, I say sorry all the time. Okay, so what you've done is you've called it, I say sorry all the time. You've owned it by saying the reason I'm doing that is because I anticipate that somebody is going to criticize me. If they ask a question, I assume that they are questioning my competency. And so how can I respond differently? If I say sorry, I can take it back. I say, sorry, I don't mean sorry. Sorry, I shouldn't say sorry. You know, how can I correct myself? Just like I would if I was writing something and crossing it out. That can sometimes help us to be intentional. Don't leave the sorry hanging in the air. You're probably going to start saying it. Let the bird fly over your head, but don't let it nest. Take it back. Actually, I'm not sorry. I didn't mean that. And then execute is to ask a follow-up question. Tell me more about how that feels, and just decide to choose to trust that they're not criticizing you and it's not personal. I find that's a good thing about apologizing. When I get something wrong, where apology is helpful, is when I apologize because I've got something wrong, it trains me not to get it wrong again. It's that humbling nature. And actually, you saying, actually, I'm not sorry, it feels a bit clunky, it feels a bit awkward. But the more you do it, the more likely you are to catch yourself before you say sorry and train yourself not to say it. So what we're looking for is a specific way to launch an intervention so that you can become more intentional in the way you're showing up. We're just looking for a small pattern change. So if you haven't already, get clear on which insight feels most relevant to you today. So Carl, if you want me to show the insight lists for the connector and the nurturer again, so you can screenshot, then just stay on the call before you jump in the breakout.
That'd be good. Thank you.
Great. So we'll do that. So get clear on one insight and then coach each other in your pairs. You'll only have 5 minutes, I think. Coach each other, or maybe we'll give you a couple more minutes. Coach each other to get to a specific next step. Okay. And try to make sure it's watertight and concrete. All right, Claire, are we ready for the breakouts?
Yep, I've done 5 minutes. So
great. See you all the other side. Carl, I'm going to jump over to the insights now and share
Thank you.
those for you. Let's go over. Right. Larissa, I want to go to you first, please. How are you getting on with the next step?
Yeah, so in the fundraising team with them, as you know, we've done quite a lot of these sessions with you. So within our team, like we're all quite familiar with what everybody's first voices are, and it's been quite helpful with our, like we have kind of smaller teams within our larger team, and with the team that I lead, I've got a complete mix of different voices in there, and I've kind of learned over the last few years exactly how people want to be managed and what makes like a good team meeting and how people want to work and how that's all structured. But next year we've got some changes coming up within our team, like people are retiring, got kind of new people coming in, and we've got a lot more kind of connector voices within the team, and I've noticed that they really want to be communicated with in quite a different way than what we've previously had. And almost, I think I need to be, my kind of point is to be more, once all the changes are in place, to be more intentional with them, to kind of almost maybe over communicate with them in a way that I haven't done previously, because the other people wanted to be left alone and do it. Whereas the connector people actually want to know what's going on with everybody so that they feel like they're included in the process. And it's a very different way of managing the team. So that's kind of my point for Q1 for next year, which is when all the
Love it. Yeah.
like have a look at how my team is structured.
Yeah. Any ideas yet on your next step, on what one thing that you can do to help achieve that aim of helping the connectors to feel there's more communication?
Yeah, we're kind of we're putting in a meeting kind of once a month to talk through a couple of things which they feel a little bit out of the loop in.
Great. So there's a tool called Formal and Informal Time, which is coming up a bit later in the series, but you can have a sneak preview where it says have formal times where you're meeting, but also there are those informal moments of checking in, and that's particularly the place that the connectors enjoy, as well as knowing that these things are happening on this regular basis, but also just drafts. So quite often with my connector clients or my connector colleagues, WhatsApp is really helpful, and it's just little voice notes here or there. You do have to sometimes limit it to people and say it's a 1.5 minute max message, but throw one out there and I'll throw one back. But it's lots of drafts and hearing. They like to hear their own thoughts out loud to do their best work as connectors. So Larissa, you're onto something there, and I love that desire to empower and liberate those connectors on your team. They'll be so helpful and useful to you. Hannah, coming to a different voice. Thoughts?
Yeah, guardian. So I'm definitely strong guardian. So my one was number 4, learning to compromise is a healthy part of team life, which I've slightly adapted slightly. But yes, so I've kind of gone with my way is not always necessarily the right way, and I need to listen to other ideas. We definitely have a very strong creative in our team that comes out with 20 million wonderful, lovely ideas regularly, and I can't deny that I have struggled with that bit of definitely that strong kind of that compromising bit. Everything's working well. Why are we now having to change with other bits and pieces? So for me, it's definitely either I've got kind of two kind of execution kind of things. Either if I need to respond straight away, take a breath, actually think of something positive, and then think about the main question or concern, not dive in with my absolute negativity of 20 million ways as to why I don't think it's going to work. If I have a little bit more time, ask maybe for some time to reflect so I can get my thoughts initially in order. And what is my main concern? Is it that it's just I don't want change? And or that it's just another idea that I'm having to potentially adapt to, and think through that process rather than, so basically not being so negative, which I'm not meaning to be negative, but I instantly see all the potential errors or issues that could go with these different ideas, and they're just trying to be helpful. So yeah.
Love it, Hannah. Thank you. So knowing that that's your tendency, celebrate before you critique, take a breath is your next step. Really useful. Leanne, sorry, coming to you, last but not least.
Hello. I went with taking time. So from the Pioneer Voice, taking time to make sure that you listen to everyone, basically, which I think generally, because my second voice is connector, I'm not too bad at, but really recognize that like stress response, that's the first thing to go when I just really need to deliver something. So, but I guess the response bit is making sure that I am taking the time, even when I'm trying to deliver something under pressure, to actually make sure I've got the right people in the room, listening to them and hearing the things that I need to hear, rather than just kind of going into off we go mode.
Yeah, getting on the horse and off we go. But actually taking that time, that extra thing to go, let's just check in here and get buy-in. Really good. Love that. So we've run out of time, everybody, but thank you so much for your intentionality in this space. And I know some of you know the voices really, really well, Marissa in particular, and others as well on the call had lots of it. But I hope you can find and see already that there are still lots of gems to collect, because it is such a complex and interesting piece. So well done. Have a great rest of the day. Reach out to us. We'll see you in 2 weeks, and do keep going with Altitude online as well.
Thanks, Laura.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Well done all being here today.
Thank you. Bye.
Great attendance from this group.